And good day, everybody. This is Michael Filighera. I am with logicalsignals.com and tradershelpingtraders.com. And today I'd like to bring the fifth update in my series of Bitcoin meets Elliott wave. Now, I also want to update the current path for Bitcoin as through Friday's trading, but I'm going to begin at giving a little bit more Elliott wave background, the wave principle background, so that we get a little bit clearer understanding of what I am looking for here in Bitcoin and how that relates to the longer term picture for blockchain technology and also cryptocurrencies. So as I've described before, Elliott wave, the wave principle, is based on basically a building block type of procedure or methodology. And what Elliott laid out and described were that markets, particularly equity markets, tended to move in 5-wave impulse waves in the direction of the trend. So it was a 5-wave impulse wave where wave 2 corrected wave 1, wave 4 corrected wave 3, and at the end of that 5, it was considered a complete movement, but it was followed by a 3-wave counter trend move, those being labeled ABC. So we have impulse waves, which are labeled 1 through 5, and then we have counter trend moves, which are labeled as ABCs. Now, bringing that into this building block chain is that once a total complete sequence is done, that would suggest that we have a 5-wave impulse move followed by a 3-wave counter trend move. That would then form the first and second waves of 1 degree larger. So in other words, if we're counting on a sub-minute level, then we get the first 5 waves in plus the 3-wave decline, then that's going to form waves 1 and 2 of minute degree, and so on up as they complete the finishes the next level, the next level. So right now in Bitcoin futures, I have started counting from an intermediate level. Now I've gone back and I've taken a look at Bitcoin futures or just Bitcoin trading from when it began. So having this come in at 20,000, which is where the futures that trade on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, that is where they started to trade. But there's a lot of history before. And so when I went and I looked at that, this being an intermediate wave 1 completion point at basically the start of Bitcoin futures fits very cleanly. There was a lot of trade that came before it. In fact, there was about 10 years that came before this was officially listed. And within that, the market had several rise, drops. So I can still see those waves that came up and formed the intermediate level. Now, some may argue that that was actually 1 degree higher. Maybe we should have come in on a primary degree. That is just basically just a bland argument in terms of direction and intensity of direction. So I think it's kind of a moot point as to whether I started an intermediate or I started in a primary degree, or even if I started a cycle degree. And what it really boils down to for me is how long intermediate waves take to unfold and how long a primary wave takes to unfold. Some may say an intermediate degree wave takes a matter of weeks or maybe months to unfold. And that's where I disagree. I think intermediate waves can take years to unfold. And then primary waves take months to maybe up to 10 years to fully unfold. Is that a hard and fast rule? Not at all. But it helps to guide me into what degree is this move And that's going to lead us into what degree we're going to be looking for on both the upside and then correctively. So coming back to my picture, I started counting on an intermediate level degree. Now I want to just bump us out to and take a look at what in essence I'm talking about in terms of degrees and movements. So I've gone out to the Dow Jones, and I'm going to go to basically the maximum chart that I have, which really goes back to 1902, because I want to show how long these things can take to develop. So in this one, we always go right to the very top that Elliott chose, and he called them grand supercycles, and then supercycle, and then cycle, and then primary. As high as I can go so far in Bitcoin would be the cycle level, because there are a lot of factors that still need to be understood about how Bitcoin trades and what type of a cycle it's going to form. Because we don't have enough data, that is why I chose to basically come in at a intermediate degree level, and that eventually will form the primary degree. So if I just take this back out to that monthly chart, then we can see that we have a primary degree completion, which actually completed a cycle degree. So as we start the next rally phase, then it comes up as primary. But because I'm starting in a intermediate degree, I'm now going to go back down. You're going to see how these all form and how long they can take. For example, this intermediate third wave took from 2011 to 2018, took 7 years to unfold in the Dow. So that's why I'm sticking with intermediate degree to begin for Bitcoin. So now let's go back to that Bitcoin. Now we can understand that the picture, this larger picture that I believe is developing here in Bitcoin. So I'm going to go back down to that weekly chart. Now, what we are currently working through is an intermediate third wave advance. Going back to the building block, what's involved in that advance are 5 waves of minor degree. And as I continue to break this down, as we can see here in minor wave 3, the advance, it breaks down into 5 waves of minute degree, which are labeled as such. Then within that minute degree 5-wave structure, we had an extension within this third wave, and that gets labeled as a sub-minute. So we have minute 1, minute 2, and then it subdivides yet again, which is a common occurrence within a third wave. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, always it's an impulse and the trend is up. So therefore, all the waves internally are going to break into 5 waves. So then we get 3 and 4 and a 5, and that completed minor wave 3. Then we have an ABC decline, right? Counter trend, 3 waves labeled A, B, and C. The A wave divided into its own ABC decline. The B wave was also an ABC counter trend rally. And then the C was a 5. And if I broke this down into a smaller time frame, we would see the 5 waves. So that ended, and that put in the minor 4. Now from that level, I have been counting a minor 5th wave. Again, in a minor 5th wave, there are going to be 5 waves of minute degree. And I'm believing that what we may be seeing right now is just the first 5 waves to bring in the first minute degree. Now, it's either going to be that, or these are minute waves, and we're going to be within a minute 5th wave up, which would then complete that minor. So now I want to take it down again. And this is where I'll start to begin my update for current trading. So again, just to kind of go over. And then I'm also going to include, when I'm done giving this update, how that fits into that larger picture and what we can expect over the longer term from Bitcoin. And at the same time, I also want to just interject right here. I also, in the past, in the previous update, I have gone over the alternate view, because each segment, as we're building in this initial larger picture, I'm going to include an alternate view because it's important, because the market is still developing. The market is still, I don't have much to base it on prior to 2018. Or even if I can go back to 2008, there's not a whole lot of data. And so I can't develop a multi-year or just a multi-decade picture yet until the market is actually traded. So that's why I will always include a stronger downside view versus the strong upside view that I'm putting at, because we continue to have to allow the market to tell us. So it's the trading itself that shows me where direction is, what may be coming next, et cetera. And then I can put it into a bullish and a bearish picture. So an alternate plus a preferred view. So on the preferred view right now, if this is indeed just minute waves now, then we're going to finish a minute 4, which I believe we did when the market came down, and it did put in a new low underneath the large decline that we saw on the 7th of September. And the market kind of waffled. And at the time I had discussed that that could be all of this 4th wave correction that I was looking for and counting. But I needed to allow the market to tell us, and because it hesitated here, it hesitated to break out to the upside, that then it slid back down, and in one day went down and put a new low below this one from the 7th, put a new low in on the 13th. Not that it was by a great, huge amount, but it was enough to produce the ABC structure that I was looking for. So I can put, I'm going to put that in, I'll do it right now, actually. And let's see, I'm just going to add this. Now I'm going to add it as that sub-minute 4. And the reason is because I just want to see how this market is going to react, because I'll explain now as I'm putting this labeling together. If it's just a sub-minute and what we're going to finish is a minute 1, there is some intense upside still to come. And that fits in either direction, to be honest with you. So I feel that we need to allow for that, so that we're going to be getting the development of all of these waves correct. So if I'm putting the 4 here, then what we're beginning is a minute 5 or a sub-minute 5. So we're going to keep those running together. I'm not trying to convince myself or anybody else. We allow the market to tell us. But if there is a much larger rally that's going to take Bitcoin well above that existing high at 65,520, then we need to allow that via the count. Now, if I put this at a too high of a degree, we're going to be calling a top and looking for a larger decline. Well, what if that doesn't happen? What if we just get a smaller decline and then it shoots higher again? So that's why I take a lot of caution in keeping the degrees together and the possibilities as well. Because I do feel that the technology that is being developed and then improved upon on a fairly consistent basis within the blockchain technology, within the cryptocurrency technology, and how this all fits together is growing exponentially. And I think that there are coming many, many uses for blockchain technology, not just for this instantaneous transfer of assets. There are other means and uses for it. For example, PayPal has now put it into their own system and are using it for different procedures that they do as doing business. And Google is using the blockchain technology. Facebook is using the blockchain technology. So it's starting to expand and move out. That's going to draw the interest into it, and that's going to propel the technology itself. And so Bitcoin futures will follow along. They have no choice. There will be greater demand for this technology and greater demand for the use of it. Okay, so back down. If I'm looking for a fifth wave up, now I can kind of put in another layer of Fibonacci extensions, which we're going to be able to wrap around some parameters to where we think this all can go. I need to get that right there, right there. Perfect. Okay, so now what I'm going to start looking for are the levels of overlap. So where I think this minor or this minute fifth wave, subminute fifth wave can get up to. So the Fibonacci relationships between the waves are what we're going to base this on. And between a fifth wave, the relationships on Fibonacci are going to be in comparison to the third wave. Now, the first and most common is that the fifth wave will equal 0.618 times the length of the third wave. That number comes in right there at 58,238. That's not taking me to a new high, which is why I keep it in a subminute level. Because if I'm building on minute waves, then I would be expecting this minute wave 5 to get me to a new high. So hence why I've got it on this degree level. Because if it stops there and does a small correction, I'm going to be looking for continued intense rally. Okay, so that's why I don't jump on degree level. Remember, it's building blocks. This 5 waves completes the next level up, which the way I have it labeled would be that minute degree. 5 waves of minute degree up would complete the minor fifth wave. And it's after that minor fifth wave that we will be completing the intermediate third wave. Then I'm looking for a bigger correction. But I would like to see new highs prior to that. But here, I'm going to show you how we've got that covered. So this is the current high, 65,520. The second most common relationship between a fifth wave and the third wave is that it will equal each other in length. So wave 5 would be equal to wave 3 at 67,485. Now look at where this overlaps. It overlaps where minor wave 5 would equal 0.618 of minor wave 3. That's an important thing to remember, because what did I just discuss? The most common relationship between a fifth wave and the third wave is that it comes in at 0.618 times the length of that third wave. On the subminute level, that's going to come in here. If these are minute waves, then it goes to the next relationship, and that is 67,485, which is in conjunction exactly where the minor 5 would be equal to 0.618 times the length of minor 3. this one is actually 66,794. I believe that's right. Let me just see if I can get that pulled up. Yeah, come on, do it again. Yeah, 66,794. So we've got a window of resistance to complete this 5-wave sequence. And depending on what happens after will be depending on whether we label it the completion point for minor wave 5 and in turn intermediate wave 3. Now, again, remember on an intermediate level, I'm still would be, if after intermediate 3 is complete, I'm looking for an intermediate 4th wave correction. And then an intermediate 5th wave, again, to new highs. So these are building blocks. This is how we can now start to say that, you know what, this technology is really going to take hold. But please bear with me when I tell you, I'm not saying that we go out and buy a bunch of Bitcoin now, because we see a lot of things on YouTube, on the internet, that are talking about $500,000 for Bitcoin. That's what the price, that's where we're going. $150,000, $200,000. And they're not necessarily wrong. They may be overly optimistic, and they may be ahead of themselves in terms of how it's going to get there and how quickly it can get there. So mind you that, just taking this back out to the weekly chart, so far, the rally, which is consistent for intermediate wave 3, that rally started in 2018. So in October, it will be 3 years in the making. We're in September. We're a month away. So it's already 3 years it's taken for intermediate wave 3 to unfold. So how long would I think it's going to take for the market to get to 150,000? Well, maybe another 3 years or longer. So time frame versus price building. Now you can build your picture. There will be a lot of trading in Bitcoin in both directions between now and 2024. That much I can tell you. So long-term investment, well, yeah, I can see that, but be careful, because there will be larger corrections. When we're finished with the intermediate 3rd wave, we have an intermediate 4th wave, which, by the way, wherever this ends, whether it's 67,485 or on upwards of 84,000, of 85,000 or 90,000, we've got the Fibonacci extensions that take it all the way up there on the minor 5th wave level. Minor 5 would be equal to minor 3 at 90,230. Is that possible? Yes, it is possible. I've seen it in other markets, and we certainly have seen a great interest in Bitcoin and how quickly it can move. As more countries, as more companies decide that they're going to be accepting Bitcoin or start investing in Bitcoin, watch the price. It will propel itself higher. But I want to be clear on how the waves are constructed and what degree. We may get up to here in a minor 5th wave. So, and that might be that we only get here complete subminute wave or minute wave 1, come into a little bit of a correction, and then blast in the 3rd wave, which maybe gets us up to here, pull back again, and then blast in the 5th wave that gets us up to here. And that's all going to be within minor wave 5. Minor wave 5 has actually only been under construction, we'll call it, since June, the end of June of this year. So it's really a quarter. It's only been building up in a quarter, 1 quarter. So if we take this back down, and let me just put this back into line so I can see it. Now, minor wave 3, which is 1 up, that one started, minor wave 3 started in March of 2020, and it completed in April of 2021. So minor wave 3 took a year. Now, it is safe to say that minor wave 5 would take 3 to 9 months to unfold. And that's just using Fibonacci time sequences. So we need to allow for this and not be in a hurry. Oftentimes, yes, I can enter a trade, and if I'm long, make your move. Let's go. Let's do it. But we're seeing the reality is the market will move at the pace the market wants to go. And right now, even though I am looking for a rally to really pick up, we can see it gets up to that little tiny first resistance at about 48, yeah, 48,992. So it almost got to 49,000. Huge milestone exactly for this rally, because we're essentially looking for it to get above 50,000. We're looking for it to get above 52,125, which is its previous high before we had that huge decline in one day. So there's still a lot of caution coming in. Now, what could that caution be telling us? A couple of things. It could be telling us that this in itself is an ABC, and that's just a B wave. So this ends up being wave A, then we get a wave B, and now we come down. And these are things that we have to consider. If I'm going to say it's a reality, not yet. The market will tell us, but it has potential. And you have to include that potential in your analysis and in your picture. Now, am I saying that's what's going to happen? No, I'm going to allow the market to tell me, but I'm going to tell you straight out, it's potentially has that built in. That's already there. And this is on a daily chart. If I come back down and now I'm going to go to a 4-hour chart, I can now open this up a little bit more to see what does that look like. Well, that looks like a 1, a little bit of a 2, and now we're going to start to really rally strongly. That's what it tells me. But in all honesty, I still have to include the potential for the market to drop back down. What if it doesn't rally? What if this is 1, 2, and now it's starting to come down into 3, and it's going to pick up the steam, and it's going to end up at 45,000 instead of 48,000? What then? Are you wrong, Michael? No, I'm including it. I'm including the possibilities. I'm including the potential. What type of probability scale would I want to give it right now? I'd have to give it at least 50-50. There's a 50% chance that we just reverse and we start going right back up. And there's a 50% chance that we continue to decline and break here and end up making a new low. Those are still there. We must allow day by day for the market to tell us. I can never jump in front of the thousands, millions of people that are trading Bitcoin and say, okay, we're all on the same page here. We're going to drop. No. It goes what the input is in each day. But what I can tell you is that Fibonacci and Elliott work because of the behavioral aspects of trading that humans put into trading. And that's what we're measuring. And by doing that, I can measure a upside count and a downside view. And I will continue to do that on each degree, each level. And that's my attempt. And that's what I try to do on a day-to-day basis when we're trading intraday. What is the potential? What does the market? But we always have to allow the market to tell us. Right now, these moving averages are pretty flat. A little bit on the very short term, the 4 and the 8 are starting to turn lower, but that's because the market did end that way. But if you realize, if you just watch Bitcoin over the last few days, it's not really gone in either direction. I mean, it's kind of gone up a little bit, down a little bit, up a little bit. So it's consolidating. That would be the market term that everyone's going to use. The Bitcoin is consolidating between a fairly tight range of 48,585. Well, right now, down to 46,000. And that seems to be holding. And that's after it kind of recovered off of that little sell that one day where it just dropped real quick and they bought it back up. So when I continue to see that action, it's just consolidation. Some big player jumped out of the water, whatever. Doesn't make any difference to me. It happened. And it was more of a buying opportunity than it was a selling opportunity. I'll tell you that. But it can really shake things up. So it behooves us to keep both views in mind and be able to trade with them as well if you're trading Bitcoin. Okay, so back to both pictures. The pictures for next week and then the pictures for beyond. I would expect if this stops and we start to rally, if we get above 48,600, we should have clear sailing to at least this initial resistance zone at about 49,000. But if it breaks through that, then I'm going to be much more satisfied. First of all, if it breaks with some ease and some speed, or Bitcoin just kind of goes up $4,000 or $5,000, that's telling you buyers are back in control and we're likely starting into a third wave. So a smaller third wave within this sub-minute wave 5. And again, if that's the case, I am definitely looking forward to get above 53,125. Then we start moving it towards our next resistance zone. This would be the first sticky one. And here we have minor wave 5 has resistance at 59,555. We have it via the sub-minute wave 5 at 58,239. And then again at 60,000. So we have resistance points on the way up to all-time new highs. And then here we have again. So it's going to stair step its way up. Within this sub-minute or minute wave 5, there are going to be 5 waves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this level, this level, this level, they all remain very viable and very probable. At some point, these are where the markets will reach. Now, what it's telling us at the same time, it'll probably pause there. Maybe that just completes this little small wave, and then we get a little decline, and then we start up again. It stair steps its way up. These are building blocks into the larger building blocks. Now, how does this relate to that long-term picture that I have? Remember, I'm going to go all the way out to my maximum chart. 1, 2, 3, up here at new highs. A fourth wave would be likely to come. So what does Elliott guidelines tell us? This is from the man who wrote it all to begin with. And what he said was that a corrective phase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're looking for an ABC correction. The most common area for it to come back to. So in other words, we're finishing an intermediate third wave. The most common area for it to come back to, and it would be its terminus, and that would be all the way down here, is the fourth wave of one lesser degree. That fourth wave of one lesser degree, right? Here's intermediate, one lesser, minor. Here's the minor 4. Now we have parameters of where we can expect. If this all finishes upwards of 67,000 or 72,000, we're still looking for a fourth wave to bring it back to 28, 29,000 or anywhere in between. But we'll be able to count and we'll be able to look at the structures and be able to map it out. But that would be the first level that I think it could finish at. And then as it produces the movement, and I can count it in terms of put labeling on it, then we'll be able to define or narrow that range according to what the wave structure is telling us. So, but right now off the bat, first of all, we got to get that new high in to finish intermediate wave 3. Then we get an intermediate wave 4 corrective phase. But we still have an intermediate 5th wave up. That could be the one that takes us all the way up into here or over 100,000. But that's got to come probably in 2022. So don't rush the count. Keep this building block and time frames in mind when you're deciding, well, I want to buy it at 28,000 and I want to sell it at 100,000 and I want it to happen in a week and a half. That's just unrealistic. So help yourself by getting a grip on what the wave patterns are telling us, and then what the Fibonacci relationships are adding to that picture. And now you can put together, both on a time frame and on a realistic move time, when I can expect these types of moves, or how you want to work that position. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave this particular conversation right now. So again, just to kind of recap, I am looking for much higher levels. I do think that a lot of analysts or a lot of crypto followers, and they're reporting in $150,000. Be careful about jumping onto that bandwagon so quickly. Yes, I do believe that's going to happen, but not in the next 6 months, probably not in the next year. It is going to take time to build up to that level. A lot of things will happen in between that point and the finishing point up at 150,000 or even higher. So putting it into perspective, I happen to talk reality of today, and I could always throw out a video that's going to say, sure, I believe Bitcoin's going to 500,000, you better buy it now. That's not doing a service to anybody who's either watching that video or helping me build up views and subscribers on YouTube. It does not. Speaking reality helps your trading. Using Elliott Wave helps guide your trading. Adding Fibonacci really puts parameters around what you're seeing. And that's the way I would prefer to trade. But once this intermediate wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5 are complete, in my mind, that's only completing, and again, I'm going to go out to that Dow chart because I want to show you. If I'm only completing, and let's just use, or I can't because it's I'm only, well, okay, I can do it right here. If I'm only completing this, say this is all this rally that we're having in Bitcoin, and this is where intermediate wave 5 completes, then that's only going to be primary wave 1. And then I've got a primary wave 2, a primary wave 3. And again, we can't use the actual chart and the price move, but I'm just showing you how much lies in front of us before we get up to even a cycle level 1. And it still needs to be decided for Bitcoin. Does it trade more like a commodity? So in a commodity such as gold or corn or wheat or soybeans, and any of those tangible commodities, the Elliott guidelines change a little bit. So in other words, it's like in equity markets, the longest and the strongest wave is most often the 3rd. But in commodities, the longest and the strongest wave and the extended wave can be the 5th. So that's a big difference. So I don't think that Bitcoin has been really determined to say, well, what exactly is it? Is it going to trade more of a commodity? Is it going to trade more as an equity? Is it a currency? It's virtual. So I don't know how that's been decided, or even if it has been decided. Are we going to see these massive gains in a 5th wave, or is it really going to happen in the 3rd wave? Right now, this is pretty normal 3rd wave. Even on an intermediate level, it's fairly normal. It's unfolding pretty normally. But I still need to kind of apply my guidelines and then add to those guidelines as it applies to Bitcoin. So there's still a lot of things unknown within this market. But what we do know is that it's advancing in technology basis, and just in uses exponentially. That adds to the growth. That adds to this price action going up. Now, also what I want to add is there is a Ethereum or Ether trades a future as well. And that future has not got as much data as you can tell, because it just started trading in, let's see, February of this year. But if I bring it down to a 4-hour chart, actually a daily chart, I think also has enough data. We can see, so this is basically Ethereum. We can see that it really trades and follows Bitcoin right now. So on that basis, here's another product that costs a lot less to trade and to enter and has a future. So, and what I mean is, like, it has a futures. Right now, these are September. So we're going to be rolling out to, I believe, October very soon. So I like them. And so I'm going to start to build my picture here. And I may relate it almost move for move with Bitcoin. But as it develops, I want to see if it actually revert or goes in a different direction. So in other words, that Ethereum has a lot more going for it or not going for it. How does it react to all the different things that affect the tokens, that affects blockchains? And we'll be able to see that. So now I've got another market that I'm going to be adding to Bitcoin. So I actually should just say cryptocurrencies meet Elliott wave. And so we're going to be building our portfolio of what we follow. And that's going to be coming. Hopefully I'll be able to get that done by the time we make our next update. But for right now, this is where I'm going to keep this for right now. I'm going to say I'm looking for some positive moves in Bitcoin, but at the same time, I am keeping open the probability or the potential that the market could turn and once again decline, and leave this as 3 waves, which would suggest that this wave 4 is not done yet. That remains out there. Again, it's not something to trade on. It is something to be aware of. Right now, my preferred view is still that this market is going to go up and complete an intermediate 3rd wave, and that includes a new high above 65,520. Now, if you've been looking to get into Bitcoin or into another cryptocurrency, you can use the same ones, but try to pull a chart and try to understand that if something is trading for $1 or $2, yes, it has potential to go to 14, 15, 20, 25, 30, 40, $50. But there's going to be a lot of other areas where you can go into, because a more established currency is going to be a better deal for you. And the other thing that I intend to start covering and include within this crypto sphere is a lot of the blockchain stocks. We have MicroStrategy, which is a monster stock. We have the Bitcoin Innovation Trust, which is an ETF. We've all the way down. And there are a lot of ETFs which will also follow. The ETFs contain many of the blockchain stocks, but also Bitcoin itself, Ethereum, and the different tokens. These are going to be important moving forward. And who has that technology and how they're developing it is going to help a lot of the ETFs and these individual stocks that are in blockchain technology. So there's a lot to really build into here. And that's what I'm going to be attempting to do as I expand my own knowledge and my own analysis within this cryptocurrency sphere. So I'm going to end it for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Again, if this is something that you have an interest in, please go over to my Teachable site and just sign up for the course, and you'll be receiving all of these. You'll receive notice each time one gets put on, but it also opens you up to additional information, that other things that I follow and other things that are being covered. Again, thanks for your attention. And the next update will likely be next week.